Welcome. Today we're going to be taking a look at what it takes to transfer data across different data structures using Java. So we're looking at transferring data across data structures. We're looking going from a fixed size an array to an array list, as well as to another array, and from a list to an array or another array list. So we can look at how we can transfer information across two different types of data structures, both fixed size and resizable sizes. The reason we want to do this is we want to make sure we're able to keep our data sets The reason we're doing this is we want to make sure that we keep our original data safe. We don't want to harm the data we're working with. And so it's important that if we're going to do manipulation of the data, like say, for example, removing things, looking for duplicates, making sure we can adjust that information, we can take it out appropriately, and we don't harm our original data set we're working with. To start off with, we're using a couple different data members. We have a string array named best words, and an array list of type string named best quotes. Assume they've been initialized and they've got all the stuff inside them. Before we get started, we want to take a look at what the steps we need to do. The first thing we have to do is we have to create a new data structure. Whether it's an array or an array list, we have to make that structure so we can populate it after we make it. The second step is we have to transfer the associated data. And finally, we can modify the copy as much as we want because original data is perfectly fine and we don't have to worry about losing anything. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we need to do to make that happen. So we're going to start off by going first from an array to an array list. The first step we have to do is make an array list of type string. And I made it the amazing name of copied words. And it's a new array list of type string, open and close parens. There's nothing inside it yet, simply just makes the list. Now, because I'm transferring to a list, I can easily use the enhanced for loop to extract every single string outside of my array and put it into my new array list. And so I have a for-string word, best words. I'm going to iterate over all the words inside that array. And I'm going to say copied words.add, it makes a new entry into it, and then I'm going to pass a new string, passing as a parameter word. So I'm reinitializing a new object of string based on this. So this makes a whole brand new word from the contents of each existing thing. So there's guaranteed no harm to the original data set. Now this is a little bit of an extra step. We don't have to actually do a new string for every single thing. But right here, we guarantee we have every single data value right here. And we don't have just a shallow copy. We have a deep copy of that information. Now, if I want to transfer that array to another array, of course, the first thing I have to do is make a new data structure that's a string array type. So string array, square brackets, another copy. I know, great name. And I'm going to assign into it a new string array. I'm going to use bestwords.length. I have to ask the array how big it is when I initialize the new array, just the requires. I have to know how big it is when I'm making a fixed size data structure. Then, once I've got a size taken care of that new array and it's initialized with nothing inside it, a whole bunch of nulls, I'm going to go through and iterate using a standard for loop because the only way you can assign values into an array is with a standard for loop. And so for int index is equal to 0, index is less than another copy.length. Now, even though this is a brand new one, I can use its length reference right here because it's totally okay. That's the same length. It's already been assigned, so we're good to go. And then, of course, index plus plus. I'm going up by 1 each time. I'm ready to do this. Now, inside my for loop, when I'm copying into a fixed size data structure, I, of course, have to reference the new structure's name, followed by its index inside the square brackets because I'm using that subscript notation to talk about where I'm looking for. And inside there, I will assign into it best words sub the same index. And of course, my great friends, the semicolon should be there, of course. And so I can attach that new index, I can attach the word from there into this new spot. Now this one right here, of course, I'm just taking the reference of that string right here and putting a new reference to it inside this other array. So I have that right here. This is a shallow copy. This one is a deeper copy. I have a brand new copy of the whole thing. But that's, again, we're talking about some of the different ways we can actually look at getting that information. Now, before we go over and look at how we can do this with an array list to a list and an array list to an array, I'm going to take some time, use your head, and make some predictions. What would be the steps I need to make to go from a list to an array or a list to a list? So take some time, pause the video if you need to, and write down some predictions you have about what you can do on how you can transfer information from an array list to an array or an array list to another array list. And so these are the predictions you'd be putting on there. Again, that's what we did in class today. It's a great thing to do on your own if you're watching this video for the first time as well. Put some predictions down. Think about what's going to happen before we actually try and write the code. Now you've had your pause, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So I'm going to go for now from an array list into an array list as well. So again, just like before, I have to create my new data structure. It's an array list of type string. It's called copied quotes. And this time it's a new array list of string, again, open and close parens. No big deal, I'm just making a brand new array list. To copy each of the values using a shallow copy, again, I'm using a for each loop this time. So for string quote best quotes. Now, even if this is multiple words long, it doesn't matter because each string is one giant entity that I can work with and talk to all on its own. And so for each quote that's inside best quotes, I'm going to say copied quotes.add and that quote that I'm working with. So I can grab the entire string all at once. Every single quote from all those great movie quotes we had collected already. and I put that inside the copied quotes. And again, this is a shallow copy, similar to what we did over here when we're copying to the list or copying to the array on this one. Then we have a copying to an array from an array list. And again, when we're copying to an array, we have to know the fixed size of that structure. So string array, more quotes. I'm making a new string array that's of bestQuotes.size, so I know how big I am on the list. I'm going to make that to initialize the new string array's length right there, so I can have a bigness attached to that. And then again, because I'm assigning into a fixed size data structure, I have to use my square brackets or my subscript notation. And so more quotes subindex is equal to a new string, so I'm making a deep copy on this time when I'm copying to the array. And it's a new string. I'm going to pass it bestQuotes.get and using subindex. So making a brand new string, passing it what was inside the bestQuotes array list, grabbing that string value, putting it inside that new string constructor, and assigning that value inside my more quotes array. And so again, what we did when we're transferring information from an array to an array list, or an array to an array, or from a list to a list, or from a list to an array, we have to make sure we use the correct structure for that. The only way we can assign to an array with a fixed size structure, of course, is the square bracket notation or subscript notation. So I have to make sure I use that properly to assign into the array name subindex, the value I'm putting inside it, whether it's with or another array, or if I'm assigning to it from an array list. We also talked about how we could use a shallow copy, like we did right here, where I'm just using bestword subindex and assigning that reference into the array, or over here, where I'm using a shallow copy on this one, copied quotes.add, and then the quote that's on that. So that's the shallow copy, or I can use a deep copy where I get an extracted value right from that by using a constructor to initialize all the associated values. In this case, making a new string, passing the string constructor right there, or right over here, where I'm using the string constructor passing what's retrieved outside of the quotes list right here. And so that's what we did in order so we can actually go through and do that. Again, make sure you take some time to look at some predictions on how to make that code. Look at the patterns that we have between copying to an array list, and copying from a list to a list, as well as copying from an array to an array, and from an array list to an array. Look for those patterns, identify those, and you can help some and you can have a greater understanding of what you're working with and how you can do some cool things in computer science using Java and any other language. Cheers and have a great day.